What's up guys, it's Rowan here from Artist Smart TV, and today I'm sitting down with Hamish, one of our Pathfinder alumni, and we're going to learn about his journey throughout year 12 and particularly how he grappled with feeling overwhelmed and the sense of overwhelm that can often hit as part of the HSC. And also in that, how he balanced his commitments. He was school captain, he had a lot of co-curriculars, personal projects and more. And we want to really find out, how do you actually manage all of those commitments, not get overwhelmed, and still at the end of the day, achieve academically and do incredibly well with your ATAR. So welcome, Hamish.
Hi, Rowan. Thanks for having me.
Now, just to give us a bit of context, what school did you go to and what were the subjects you were taking during the HSC?
Yep, so I went to Engadine High School and I studied 10 units. I did legal studies, economics, business studies, advanced English and standard maths.
Cool, amazing. So a bit of a range.
Yeah.
Although definitely a humanities sort of lean. Now, at the start of the year, what was the goal that you set for university and what you wanted to study?
Yep, so I wanted to study a law degree. I wanted to double it. At the time, I wasn't too certain, but I knew it wanted to be something like law and commerce, law and eco, along that. And I knew my ATAR would have to be around that 95 ballpark and up in order to study that, do my degree, and then hopefully practice law.
Amazing. So before we dive in at what that journey looked like, just to fast forward to today, how did you end up going and what are you going to be studying?
Yep, so I got a 95.55 ATAR, so I got the goal.
Right.
Thank you. And then I've been offered to also study a double degree in law and commerce at UNSW, so I'm absolutely thrilled with it.
Amazing, well done. So that's like the goal happened.
It happened.
Right, so power of setting goals, it works.
It did, definitely.
Now, I want to dive in a little bit because if we go back to the start or early part of year 12, certainly at least, I know one of the challenges that you expressed that you were sort of grappling with was just the sense of feeling a little overwhelmed and therefore just trying to find a sort of sense of calm to sort of be able to work through it all. I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you felt, what was driving that at the time.
So starting year 12, it was when I just got my captaincy and I knew I wanted to do well at the end of the year. And it all kind of like hit me in the sense that it's like I was trying to do as much work as I could because I thought that's what I have to do to get these big results. I'm trying to take on these extra commitments as part of my new role. And I'm literally just trying to take as much as I can on my plate because I thought that's what I want to do. And I did enjoy it, but with that comes the sense of getting really overwhelmed with just this huge plate of all this work that you got to do, these responsibilities, these extra commitments, and it just hits you and just makes you go like, I don't know, like I'm really feeling it.
I want to understand what did a week look like back then? You were school captain. What sort of commitments did that entail?
There was a lot of liaising as part of the role, like you'd meet with your principal, your deputy, your execs, your prefect team. It'd be a bit of a deconstruction of what's the term going to look like? What have we got coming up? Do you need to present at anything? Do you need to attend anything? What are some concerns the year group might have? And it was a lot of liaising to begin with. And then when it was your like assemblies or presentations, like it was white ribbon, whatever else it was going to be, it was then kind of prepping for yourself, writing your speeches, meeting with people, setting up, and then also just talking to the year group or hearing about what the year group wants or what they're kind of up to as well. So that's what it comes into, is liaising and then prepping for certain events that were coming up.
Cool, so you had that as a commitment. What other commitments did you have going on?
So at that time, I still was working part-time and I was still playing cricket. I obviously had my studies going on.
With an ambitious goal. So just to dig in, when you were working, how many shifts a week?
At that time, one on a weekend, tops Saturday mornings.
Cool, and then cricket, that's a pretty time-consuming commitment typically, right? In terms of just the length of games, training. Were you training once, twice a week?
At that time, around 2 to 3, sometimes 4 times a week in the afternoon,
Plus then a game on the weekend?
Yeah.
Right, so a lot going on.
Yeah.
I can feel why you were feeling a little overwhelmed, right?
Yeah.
So what then happened? How did you manage those commitments? Because I feel other students have a similar, maybe not quite as much, but certainly the same challenge of how do I do well at school? How do I stay healthy, which involves, doing exercise and having a bit of a life. Maybe they're needing to work or wanting to work. They're thinking about extracurriculars for early entry and scholarships. And then the end of it, it's like, crap, how do I do well at this ATAR game as well? So how did you balance it?
Scheduling. It's the most important thing you can do as a senior student, and most importantly a year 12 student. You need to have a specific schedule. So I had my schedule Monday to Sunday, 7 a.m. till 9 p.m. That's how my day started. So I'd start working at 7 in the morning. Like for schoolwork, I'd get there a bit early because I just was a morning person, and I'd have my evening set out. And it was then sitting down and going, what are my commitments for this week? And then going, okay, this is what I've got to do for school. This is my legal work, or this is my shift I have on this week. This is when I'm training. This is when I've got to meet with whoever it's going to be. Let's then slot these times in and really take the time to do it. Go, okay, rather than just going, all right, morning I'm going to do echo. It's like, okay, I'm going to do echo, but I'm going to do this task so I can tick that off. I know that's critical. That's that done. Okay, recess, I'm then going to go see this person. Okay, great, that's that then ticked off. Then we get to afternoon, all right, I'm going to work for this hour on this specific subject. Great, and then for this next hour I have my training. All right, let's factor in the training. Then in the afternoon, what else it was going to be. So it was knowing when it was going to get done, which then alleviates the stress. Because if you don't have a schedule, you just think you got this plate of work. When am I going to get through this? How am I going to get through this? This is ridiculous. Being able to see it in action when it's going to get done is just, it's fantastic. And then it then comes down to trusting yourself that you're going to get it done.
So then a couple of questions to dive in here. One, were you doing this weekly? Like, was it a weekly plan that you'd start at the start of the week, you'd look at your week and go, all right, here's what I'm going to do?
Yeah.
So would you do it on the weekend, a Monday? Like, when would you plan that?
There's a little bit of a process to it. So every Sunday afternoon, so I could give myself plenty of time. I wasn't cramming it at night. I would sit there and go, okay, let's just list what I've got to do for the week. Let's just put everything down that I know I got coming up. And then it was transferring that into what have I got to do each day. All right, let's put some of these tasks on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all the way till Sunday. And then it was that final schedule where it was Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Let's now slot it in. Let's get Monday's tasks and commitments and put it in Monday's time slots. Tuesdays, put it in Tuesday slots.
You had the general structure of the study plan or the schedule defined, which was the time, start and end times.
Yep.
And then it was a weekly task of writing the fat to-do list,
Yep.
right, and then mapping it. And now when you mapped it, was that digitally? Was that in a Google Calendar? Was it in like a physical sort of diary plan, or was it on a wall? Like, what did that look like?
Yeah, I just did it on Google Docs. I just had my big folder of all my schedules and just typed it up. I just found it's the easiest way to change things, rearrange, whatever, and just aesthetically, I just liked how it looked.
Yeah, cool. So in other words, it feels like a little bit of pick something that's easy to sort of do, because otherwise you won't do it, you'll procrastinate.
Yeah, exactly.
And then pick something that works for you, ultimately.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, as part of this process, I know you were also during the year doing some work with Winnie, your Pathfinder mentor.
Yeah.
How did Winnie support you in helping you deal with the sort of overwhelm and balance all these commitments?
Yeah. Winnie was fantastic. She came in right at the time when I had all this going on, and I did have my schedule, but I just knew that there was still something not right. You just have that feeling of like, I still don't feel totally calm and relaxed with what I'm doing. And she sat down with me and she goes, you're not breaking. You never break. You don't literally stop. And it sounds weird, and it's like you look back and I'd be like, oh, but I had a break recess, 10 minutes when I got home. Then I had one like 4 hours later. And she's like, you got to rest and start breaking and resting, because the benefit of that is also you just feel more energized, you feel more calm. And because of that, you can generally do your work quicker and better. So it was then going in and going, okay, look at these tasks. Do you actually need to get that done then and there? And sometimes it would be, and you'd be like, okay, let's move on to something else. And then look at my training. I kind of go like cricket, for example. Okay, I don't need to do as intense training. You got to sacrifice a little bit. I'm going to cut that out. And in that time, I'm going to put in just maybe 30 minutes of a break and just kind of scatter them around. So she was really good at sitting down and going, right, what times do you normally break? When do you rest? I'm like, okay, here, right, this is what we're going to do on that break. It was actually pointing out what it's going to look like. I'm going to get out of my chair, I'm going to stretch, I'm going to have a drink of water, eat something, quick walk, maybe just play cricket in my backyard or something like that, so I'm still enjoying my hobbies. But get moving, have a break, and then you can jump back into it, just so you're re-energized with it. And then from that, again, it was then just prioritizing what actually needs to be done, what in this time of your life, what is actually most important. Well, that's what's got to be focused more, and you got to kind of give up a few of the other things.
So counterintuitively, it was actually scheduling breaks.
Yep.
It was to look at how you could re-energize so that you didn't burn out. Because I think that's always the risk as well, where you're taking on all these commitments and you've got almost the overschedule, right?
Yeah.
You've got the schedule and it's so mapped that then you just don't do it. So we got breaks, and then prioritization, which is so critical. So how did you guys think through the prioritization process?
It was looking at the time and I'd go, okay, like, is this, for example, like if I was training, do I need to train that much? Is that just because I want to do it? Do I really need to do that? No, like I can do that once or twice, like tops a week, because I can still play on the weekend. So I'd be like, if I still want to play, just chuck that for 10 minutes on a break, something like that. So it was then working out also, what do you really want to achieve? I want to achieve my ATAR goal. Okay, then the schoolwork is going to start becoming that main priority. We can still take a few things out, but that's what you want to achieve. At the end of the year, you're not going to look back and go, far out, I'm so glad I trained 4 times a week, when that wasn't really what I wanted to achieve. If you did, then fantastic. But you want to be able to look back and go, I wanted that goal and I did it and I did everything I could to achieve it. So it was then going, that was what it was. It was really working out, what do you want to achieve? Is that actually going to help you get there? Not really at this time. Okay, that can probably go.
Or cut back or...
Yeah, exactly. It was never really abolishing anything. Some things did, that just weren't a priority at the time at all. But then with other things, it was just cut it back. You're still doing it, but just slim it down a little bit.
What was your first impression when you met Winnie, your Pathfinder mentor?
I was kind of like, because I didn't know too much about it at the time. I think I was really inquisitive just about like where she went, like how she did in year 12. And I knew she did, like, I think it was Taekwondo at a national level. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, whoa, okay, that's pretty cool. And then when I found that out, I was thinking, how do you do so well in year 12, but you do national sport? Like, I just don't get that. Like, I thought one would have to surely come at the compromise of the other. And so that was my first thought. I was baffled when I found out what she had achieved, and then I became just very inquisitive about what was going on. I started picking her brains about it.
Awesome. And what would you say was sort of the biggest thing you took away from, whether or not a strategy, a mindset, or something else from the sessions you had working with Winnie?
I think mindset was a huge one at the time, and the other one was just my balancing and re-energizing. So in terms of the mentality, it was reverting your mentality. Instead of going, look, I just want to absolutely smash this exam, I want to get this mark on it. It was sitting down and then also with that mentality, you start stressing about, I hope the exam's easy, I hope I can do this. She would sit down and go, what can you control in all of this? The things that you can control is your work ethic, the work that you're doing, and then how consistently you're doing it. You can't control what's in the exam, all right? So stop worrying about this. It's fine to contemplate it and prep things, but don't stress over what's going to be in that exam. You just can't control it. Do whatever you can control, do that to the best of your ability. So work as hard as you can. So I made sure I did that, and then whatever happens from there happens in the end. And that's just calming, knowing that. Going, you can't control everything that's going to happen. Whatever you can though, do your best to do that, and then whatever else happens, it just happens. Then with the relaxing thing, it was just preventing burnout. Like, I know through the end of term 1 of year 12, just before I started working with her as well, after an exam block, I would crash. I'd be sick for about 2 weeks, like physically sick, because I was so exhausted, I barely rested, I hadn't stopped working, and you literally you feel shocking at the time. And I was like, yeah, I can't have that for a whole year. I can't do that. That's just not healthy at all. And it would be sitting down and go, okay, let's put in this stuff. And then it was reflecting on it. Let's see, how did it work? How did you find that break? When you finished that break, how did you feel? I was like, I think I felt pretty good with that. Let's stick with that then for this week. Your afternoon break, how did you feel? I still feel really exhausted. All right, what can we do to boost your energy? Oh, so I'd exercise. She'd be like, how about you do exercising? Like, I like doing boxing and things like that. So I do, okay, for 20 minutes, I'm going to go do some boxing and really get the energy going, or skipping, really kind of get it going and go, all right, let's go through with it. So it was really good having her suggestions and point of view on that. So I was never burning out. And I've not burnt out since.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really good to hear.
Yeah.
And they're really life skills. I mean,
absolutely.
because let's be honest, I think once you get past HSC, life actually sort of gets busier.
Yeah.
Because you tend to take on more commitments.
It definitely does, yeah.
Now, part of the Pathfinder program, there was also workshops and intensives throughout the year as well. What was, we'll talk about intensives and workshops separately. What was a workshop that stuck with you, or career Q&A, right? That stuck with you the most during the year?
The one we did for the trials, it got me so motivated that actually afterwards I'm like, all right, we're gonna knock this. I went outside, I put my earphones in, I was boxing, I was like, all right, we got this, here we go. It's 10 weeks away, we're on. It got me so fired up for it, because it just helped with, we had our planner, and it was scheduling things out, and it was like, you had this big planner that's like, I can see when I'm gonna get my stuff done. beauty, if I stick to it, I'm going to nail this task. Then we had the certain study strategies, like learning like traffic light system or certain past paper strategies that made me go, great, if I implement these, I'm going to nail this. And then it was also just getting comfortable with the fact it was coming up. It wasn't dreading it. And then also part of that session was hearing other people's advice and tips. Well, I did this for this subject, or when I did business, I've done this study strategy. Do you want to give it a go? Yeah, absolutely, let's do it. And you start having fun with actually kind of experimenting it. So after that intensive, I was like, I'm ready. And trials were for us 10 weeks away. And I was pumped for them. Like I was pumped to sit HSC trial exams, which is just so weird. But it was a great intensive and session.
Awesome, that's so good to hear. What was your favourite things about the career and professional intensive, the final intensive we ran?
Yeah. I really liked that in the sense that as a straight off was like doing UAC preferences, right? That was because it's a game, and it was actually learning how am I going to sort my preferences, different things like that. And then what I really enjoyed about that too was learning different skills for like interviews or like the cover letters, like going through the actual workbooks and saying, okay, when I leave year 12, I'm going to have to go seek out either a job, or if you're doing something like an entrepreneurship, you're going to have to seek out other people. You're going to need these skills. So one of the things I love was building the personal branding, learning the skills that you're going to need if you're trying to sell yourself to someone else. What are you going to say to them? How are you going to influence them? That was massive, because now with what I do now is that you're trying to convince someone to either work with you, or you want to seek out their advice, and that's a skill. That's like an art to do it, and learning the skills in that intensive were just invaluable. So now you can get confident in just seeing someone going, look, I'm doing this. Are you interested in helping me out, or just if you want to follow along, here it is. So it was knowing how to do your interviews and your cover letters when you go apply a job. But then if you're not going to apply for a job, it's also covered you in the sense that if you want to start building a network, you're covered. You've got the skills.
Amazing. Now, you also started undertaking, and have certainly since HSC finished, accelerated with a personal project.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about it. What inspired you to do it? How did you balance some of that?
Yep.
And what is it?
So the personal project stemmed from doing the Pathfinder program. That was where the idea came in, where we all had the opportunity to work on something we're really interested in, our own project. And I really wanted to do something like that. I just love that idea of having like a side hustle essentially. And I thought, okay, let's work out what would that actually look like. I started thinking about what am I really passionate about? Well, I know I like law, I know I like echo, certain finance things. How can I turn that into a project? And then initially, I had a few things that were coming up, and I thought, okay, I'll jot that idea down. And then as time goes on, you develop a bit more clarity. Then we had an intensive on it, which even helped more with the clarity about what I should focus on, what I shouldn't focus on, going through different mediums. Am I going to do it a podcast? Is it going to be YouTube? Is it going to be a book? Whatever it's going to be. And then as time went on, I thought, okay, what I'm going to do is I want to do law, I want to do finance. How can I put that into something? I'm going to do a YouTube channel on it. I want to help people with their financial literacy, building their knowledge with it, but I also love law and I love learning about it. Let's help people get clarity about what it's like to be a lawyer. That's massive. So many people when they finish year 12, probably like a lot of them go, I want to go do law. Oh, that sounds great. And they see it on TV and all that, and they're like, that looks sick. But what does it actually look like? Let's help people figure out what it looks like. So around trials time is when I worked on it a little bit more. I would organise to go meet like lawyers or someone else just to have an interview with them, talk about them, and then ask a few questions, turn them into like little scripts about what I've learned from it, and then kind of do that intermittently throughout. And then it was also when I had a bit of time learning about YouTube, how it works, the promotion, the marketing, the videos, different things like that. And now it's full operating YouTube channel.
Tell us where should people go to watch it?
Okay. So it's Bullpen Finance is the YouTube channel. Just look it up. It should be one of the first ones that comes up. And it's now all about just helping financial and legal literacy essentially. There's stock market investing tips, whether it be how to actually invest, step-by-step beginner's guide in it, certain stocks you should invest in or you might consider investing in, real estate investing, how to set up investment properties, how to get cheaper property than you're buying, how to bring the price down, how you can essentially increase the value of your house that you currently own. There's personal finance tips about, like one of the ones at the moment is like how much does eating out actually cost. One's about the cost of cars. Different things like that, just personal finance tips to help you just save money in just certain locations. And then the law ones come in too. So there's day in the life of a criminal lawyer, day in the life of a corporate lawyer. How much do they earn? Is it anything like Suits? Things like that. So there's a lot of things that if there's, you don't have to like all of them, but if there's some things that appeal, that they probably will be there. And it's just all designed to help people who want to build their financial literacy learn about it, because it is simplified. Finance and law and all that can be one of those things that's just very overwhelming at the beginning. There's so many concepts, so many terms, it's just crazy. It's designed to just simplify it, walk you through the process, understand it, and then just build some investing skills along the way.
Amazing. And what was the rationale for a personal project? You know, I know it's something that we talked about in the Pathfinder program, but why invest all this time?
Yeah.
You know, because clearly you were doing it during the HSC. You know, you were saying around trials, you're interviewing corporate lawyers, and why do it? What's the benefit? What's the reasons why you might create a personal project or a side hustle?
There's a couple of things to it, but I also knew that it helps you stand out as an applicant too. If you're going for a co-op or if you're going to be going to uni, it always looks good, I think, to have something else that you've been working on at the time. You could say, I'm going to go apply for this degree, or if it's like early entry as well, early entry would be one too. It's like, cool, but why do you want to come with this degree? Well, I have a passion for it, and here's where my passion is. It is in this project that shows where my interest lies, hence now why I want to go study that degree. So there's a massive university benefit, particularly for that early entry application. And then I also just it was my passions at the time, and I just thought it'd just be something really fun to work on and enjoy, and just spend a bit of time crafting it. And then ultimately, if you can do something that makes you money. If you can make it turn into a financial project if you want to, if that's like your motive for doing it. But that was mine. It was knowing it was going to help your university, but then I genuinely enjoyed doing it. And I thought, when I finish year 12 too, I want to have an extra project to work on. I don't want to just finish and then kind of just go through the motions of when you're done. Just have something there. And what you realize when you have something there is these opportunities that you couldn't even imagine just start coming out everywhere. You'll meet different people, you will speak to others that, like if you start networking, and they'll be like, yeah, I know a bit about that, I'll help you with it. Oh, sweet, okay. I've got this opportunity coming up in a month or so, you want to come have a look? Yes, sounds great. So that's one thing that I would say to people doing projects now, you will get these extra opportunities that you would not have gotten if you decided, oh, I'm not going to do it. Like, it's so invaluable, I think, to have that project, because again, it helps with uni and all that, but it's a springboard for when you're done. Like you can then leap into something even greater when you finish year 12, have something to look forward to as well at the end of year 12. So there's so many reasons why I think you should definitely do a personal project.
So 2 final questions.
Yep.
The first is just, what was your favourite part about the Pathfinder program? You have to pick one thing.
Oh, it's so tough because there's so many things about it. It's hard to split some of the sense, but I really did enjoy doing my lessons with it, my sessions with Winnie. That was one of them. I really looked forward to them every single time, sitting down, talking to her about different things, because I knew I was going to benefit afterwards. So I'd always look forward to going, I know when I get through that session, I'm going to be doing in a better position than I just was beforehand. And it was just fun talking to her. It wasn't always about, let's talk about school, let's have a look at school, just be just different things. Like you just might say like, what have you been up to? How are you going in this? Whatever it might be like that. And the second one was my project. I absolutely love working on my personal project. I met really cool people throughout the year doing it. And it was just something that I enjoyed. And if I didn't do the program, I would have had none of those things. So I'm very grateful that I did the overall program, because and I met Winnie, I get along with her really well. The sessions are fantastic. And now I've got my project set up.
Amazing. And final fun question. If you could take a time machine and go back to the start of year 12, what would you do differently?
Oh, that's a tough. I feel like there's a lot of things you think you'd do a little bit differently. I think at the time it would be get clarity at the beginning of the year as to what you do want to achieve. Like, it's easy to really roll in from year 11 to year 12 with all this energy and just go absolutely nuts. And you have the energy and the motivation to go, oh, I'm going to take on that, I'm going to take on that, I'm going to submit 5 drafts in 2 days, I'm going to be all on top of it. But then you can kind of fall in this position where you get a bit like, wait, why did I do all that again? Like, what was the actual reason? Like, yeah, I'm pumped about year 12, but like, what was the reason for doing all this stuff? If at the very beginning you sit down, you go, you might not know your overall goals, but it might just be something as like, I really want to perform well in this subject, or if you have your ATAR goal, I want this ATAR goal, if it's your degree, I want that degree, or it can even be something along the lines of, I just really want to enjoy coming to school. Like, I might find it tricky, but I just want to be able to enjoy what I'm doing. Because then once you know that, essentially all your actions throughout the rest of the year will reflect that. If you really want to enjoy yourself, you will do things. You might join extracurriculars, you might hang out with certain people, you might pick certain subjects that you enjoy because it makes you enjoy coming to school. If you really want to perform well, you go, I want to get that 95 ATAR, then you know I've got to put in this amount of work to contribute to that ATAR. There's always a purpose for what you're doing. I didn't get full clarity at the beginning. I had a bit of an idea, like I had my ATAR goal and all that as at the start, which helped. But then also at the same time, I didn't have clarity in other areas, hence why I took on so much. I took on that much because I'm just like, yeah, let's do it all. But then you sit down and I'd be like, what do I actually want to achieve as school captain? Okay, this is what I want to achieve. Let's start, don't take on everything, let's start working out what you can do to achieve that. So just get clarity at the beginning of year 12 because then you always know why you're doing something.